So President Trump putting Putin on notice ahead of tomorrow's high-stakes summit if he does not agree to end the war in Ukraine once and for all.
What do you think is going to come from tomorrow? Oh, my God.
Face any consequences if Vladimir Putin does not agree to stop the war after your meeting on Friday?
Yes, they will. Yeah.
What will the consequences
there will be
be?
consequences.
Sanctions, tariffs?
There will. I don't have to say. There will be very severe consequences.
It'll be severe, and it'll be in 2 weeks. Trust me.
The president agreeing to red lines in tomorrow's talks and is already eyeing a second meeting with Zelensky in attendance.
So White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, who's making the trip up to Alaska, joins us now. Caroline, when the president, great to see you. When the president says there'll be consequences, if there isn't enough progress, roughly, how would you characterize progress to avoid consequences?
Well, first of all, Brian, and great to be with you too. Let's take a step back and look at the progress.
Yeah, how would we like figure out if progress has actually been made? Well, let's step back and look at what the progress has been. All right, I need a countdown timer. Timer until Biden is brought up, until it's mentioned that this is Biden's war.
That has been made over the course of the last 7 months, thanks to President Trump's leadership. He inherited this brutal war that has killed millions of people in both Russia and Ukraine from his predecessor, Joe Biden.
What was that, 10 seconds? Guys, because I am on times 2 speed. Okay.
And thanks to President Trump's determination to bring this war to an end, both Russia and Ukraine have engaged in direct diplomatic discussions. They have exchanged prisoners of war and discussed other humanitarian issues. And you've seen the president engage directly with both leaders as well, over the phone numerous times with President Putin and in person several times with President Zelensky. The Russian president
Okay, so nothing.
requested this meeting with the president tomorrow, and the president wants to exhaust all options to try to bring this war to a peaceful resolution. So tomorrow, bright and early, he will be departing the White House for our joint military base in Anchorage, Alaska, where he will engage in a one-on-one meeting with President Putin, which will be followed by a bilateral lunch with the respective delegations from both countries, and then a press conference. And so what comes after that meeting is up to President Trump, and that's part of the reason he is going. He has incredible instincts, and he wants to sit down and look the Russian president in the eye.
Incredible instincts.
And see what progress can be made to move the ball forward to end this brutal war and to restore peace.
You know, Caroline, he secured that trade deal with Europe to buy energy from America and not from Russia. He slapped a 50% tariff on India because they were buying oil from Russia. He sent weapons to Ukraine. He's doing all this to try to get Putin to end this war. What could be the next step? I know that the president didn't give us examples, but what could be the next step to make them, to really squeeze them so that they lose even more money and they have no choice?
Well, Ainsley, I think one of the best things about President Trump's negotiating style is that he's very wise about not broadcasting moves he may or may not make in the future. And certainly the president has plenty of tools at his disposal.
Well, is he though? Didn't he literally say they would invade Iran if they didn't stop their nuclear shit? Kind of seems like he just doesn't say shit about the future when he has no fucking idea what the future holds.
That he could use if necessary, but he has always said that diplomacy and negotiation is his primary way of hoping to end this war. And so that's what he'll be looking to do tomorrow, but certainly there are sanctions and many other measures that the president could utilize if he has to. Not that he wants to, he's willing to, but again, diplomacy and negotiation has always been the way for this president, and that's part of his acceptance of the Russian president's request to have this meeting in person tomorrow.
So, Caroline, let's talk about some of the chatter. And that is some of the people in liberal media and liberal circles, people that the president fired, said that the president is going to be embarrassed by Putin. Speak to that. What does the president walk out of a meeting? We know who he is. I'm sure he's not going to tolerate disrespect from Putin, even though he wants peace, right?
Well, Lawrence, you're being very kind, and I won't be so kind, and I'll just name some of those people, such as John Bolton, who I think has made a disgrace of himself on television and in the newspapers, claiming that he knows better than President Trump. No, he doesn't, and neither do any of these so-called foreign policy experts who have never solved a foreign policy conflict in their lives. Look at what this president has done in 6 months. He has stopped 7 global conflicts all around the world using the leverage of the United States.
$15 trillion of investment in the U.S. just from Donald Trump. 7 wars stopped around the world just from Donald Trump.
America to negotiate these conflicts to an end. You had the leaders of Azerbaijan and Armenia at the White House last week, both of whom said this would not have been possible without the leadership of President Trump and his administration. So the American people trust this president. That's why they overwhelmingly reelected him. And I think it's pathetic, some of the chatter that we see from these so-called experts who have zero accomplishments on their own resumes to point to. President Trump knows what he's doing. He has great instincts. This is a highly complex and brutal war that, again, inherited by Joe Biden. Russia did not invade Ukraine under President Trump. They invaded under Joe Biden because of his incompetence and his weakness. And this president is trying to solve it and bring it to an end. And he deserves great credit for that.
I want to talk about the surge in National Guard and federal officers into D.C. But before we go, just a housekeeping thing. Did you say they're going to meet and then afterwards there'll be a press conference? And if so, will this be a joint press conference where both sides get to ask Vladimir Putin and President Trump a question?
Yes, that is the plan.
Wow. Okay, just moving on to the national, what you guys have done in Washington, D.C. Would these 100 arrests have happened with just the D.C. police and Park Police? Was there something about the president's surge that brought those arrests?
Absolutely. This is a multi-agency task force that is put forward by the president, the attorney general, our secretary of defense. There are 19 agencies that were working together across 7 districts last night, and I have some updated statistics for you. Overnight, there were 45 criminal arrests made for assault, second and first degree. There were arrests made for the distribution of illegal drugs and narcotics that have now been removed off of the streets. There were 3 illegal firearms that were seized. And in addition to that, there were 29 illegal aliens who were removed off of Washington, D.C. streets last night, many of whom had final orders of removal. So these results are happening night after night because of the efforts of this federal task force that are working alongside the Metropolitan Police Police Department who agree with this effort. In fact, the Metropolitan
3 guns?
Police Department Union stated that President Trump is right to do this, that crime has been totally out of control in the city, and the residents of Washington, maybe not the journalists because they don't want to admit President Trump is right who live here, but the residents agree. According to a Washington Post poll, 65% of D.C. residents say that crime is a very serious problem in the District of Columbia. And while Democrats want to rant and rave and coddle criminals, President Trump wants to put them behind bars, and that's what this task force is focused on doing for the next 28 days.
Caroline, I know that the president can do this for 30 days if he notifies the right committees in Congress, which he did. There were some stories that Democrats were spreading the narrative. We don't need the National Guard in there because crime has gone down around 30%, 26% I think this past year and 35% the year before that. And then we heard those numbers might be inaccurate. They might be false. And some people were let go or they were suspended, right, Brian, from their jobs because of it. Can you clear that up for us? Are those numbers correct?
Yeah, these numbers are absolutely correct, and we will continue to provide the American public and the press with the numbers because we're proud of these efforts. If the Democrats had their way, there would be hundreds more criminals roaming free in the streets of the District of Columbia right now. There would be hundreds of more illegal aliens who this task force has already detained and arrested, and now they're focused on deporting from our country. Those individuals would remain in the District of Columbia where they would have been free to do more harm. And that's not counting all of the would-be criminals that may have committed violent crimes and maybe taken the lives of law-abiding residents of the city, if not for the deterrence. There is a huge law enforcement presence here in our nation's capital. Just drive through the streets and you will see it, and that helps to deter crime. We saw this decades ago in New York City when it was once a safe city. The president is implementing those same law and order strategies that work. History is on our side with this, and we know the people are on our side with this, so we're going to continue to enforce our nation's laws.
Yeah, Governor Hochul put the National Guard into the subways. No one really objected to that here. Thanks so much, Caroline.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Caroline.
it. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks, Caroline. Glorious leader.
Has targeted me again and again. Last year, Newsom has targeted me
Jamie
again
Neutron.
and again. Last year, he actually sent his own staff member to run against me, and I won by 46,000 votes. And the reason...
This guy looks like a fucking loser.
Why is the president picking black cities?
The president isn't picking black cities. The president is trying to solve a problem. And it happens that black Americans who didn't give him a majority of their votes are going to be the beneficiaries. Let me explain something, Brian. When OPEC gets together and they set oil prices, we know what their plan is. Their plan is to benefit themselves. They're not concerned about what happens to people out all across this country, poor, working class people, middle class people, or whoever. Well, there is a cabal. It is made up of NGOs. It is made up of think tanks, some elected leaders.
Not the NGOs.
Elected officials who benefit from maintaining.
President Trump.
I still don't believe this guy. This guy astroturfed his way to wherever the fuck, whatever he is now, like so hardcore. You will never in your entire life meet a Benny Johnson fan in real life. They don't exist. This guy was on the Russia payroll and now he's in the fucking, like, the White House or whatever doing his show, or he was at least for that one day. I don't know if he's there permanently. But I don't know who the fuck this guy's fan base is.
Doing God's work by refederalizing D.C. By the way, D.C. was set up as a federal city. It's in the Constitution. It's how our founding fathers intended it. These laws are still fully enforceable. They've never been rescinded or amended. President Trump and the executive, through the House of Representatives, controls Washington, D.C. President Trump controls budgets. House of Representatives and Speaker of the House is technically and historically the mayor, the lead of D.C. That still remains on the books. What happened to D.C., especially during the civil rights.
Can you look into the WIC TV current debate? There are 2 guys not equipped to deal with the bad faith guy, and it's driving me crazy. Wait, what? Did you see Pacman's video about his sub count likely being fake? No.
Fire, and then you go into a peace deal. We can formalize the.
You think Dylan and Lonerbox can't debate Lactoid?
Occupying. I said publicly, I'm going to try to get some land back. I got to do it. I got to do it. And he goes in there and he says, that's the one option. The other option is that we do ramp up the sanctions. Not only do we ramp up the sanctions, but we also...
Lactoid is one of those guys, he's like the Ryan dude. He's like, oh, like I'm a politically independent and whatever. And he sucked Trump dick on every single thing. He's the ultimate conservative. He will defend every single possible thing that the Trump admin does, no matter how ridiculous, no matter how crazy.
Acknowledging that...
It wouldn't surprise me if he somehow has defended their position on the Epstein files recently.
I want to talk to you today about the most suspicious thing that I've ever seen on YouTube.
Ever.
And it has everything to do with a YouTuber named Benny Johnson. Now, I published a piece on Substack about this where I go into even more detail, but let me explain what this is about. I've been publishing political content to YouTube for a very long time. If you dig way back, you'll find videos from 2009. They make me cringe, yes, But after 15 years on this platform, you learn a few of the things that are just reality. Number one, video performance is unpredictable. You think a video will do well, it doesn't. You think a video will do okay, it blows up. You just sometimes don't know. Number two, if you talk about politics, half your audience will hate you, at least the ones that comment. And this is the key part for us. New subscribers track closely with video views, unless something weird is going on. To get more new subscribers, you have to have more video views. If your video views go down, you're going to have fewer new subscribers, except if something very weird is happening. And this week, writer and researcher Kyle Tharp published a piece called "This Right-Wing YouTuber is Having a Moment." The YouTuber in question is Benny Johnson. The headline stat is that in Q2 of this year, Benny Johnson's YouTube channel gained 2.2 million subscribers.
Jesus.
Making it by far the fastest growing politics-related channel of the second quarter, by far. Now, why is this unusual? It's unusual because the growth in subscribers for Benny Johnson does not match growth in views. In fact, his views appear to be down slightly. Now, before we go deeper, remember who we're dealing with here. Benny Johnson was caught up in this 2024 scandal where it was revealed that he was indirectly receiving Russian money through a company called Tenet. Johnson and others said we had no idea the money came from Russia. The payment rates were wildly above market rate, in some cases $400,000 a month. Some even had six-figure signing bonuses. So this is not someone with a spotless track record. Now let's get back to the data. Normally, more views means more subscribers. It's not exact, but that's the pattern. Here's a look at my own channel, about 3.3 million subscribers right now. This is actual data from my YouTube analytics, and you can see clearly, more views, more subscribers. It's predictable, that's how it works. Now look at Benny Johnson's data from Q2. The arrows show huge subscriber growth, but views that are either flat or declining. This is weird. Now compare this to Midas Touch. Midas Touch is one of the fastest growing progressive YouTube channels worried about profit.
I mean, 2 million. No, this guy is, he bots this shit.
Period.
It's just so obvious he bots this shit.
Was that protesters that were bussed up here stayed here. The city was burned to the ground. This happened during massive riots throughout the 60s and 70s. Mass swaths of the city.
Oh, we listened to this yesterday. This weird thing where I guess we're going to rewrite the civil rights movement and everything. We're going to rewrite all of that as being violent and incendiary and was burning neighborhoods down and whole cities down, I guess.
Were torched and were never really rebuilt. And so what President Trump is doing is reasserting control of not only our nation's capital, but truly the seat of Western civilization. There's one final little note here that kind of blends outside of the personal, which is that Washington, D.C. is a representation of the work of your forefathers and mine. It is, by every measure, a very beautiful city architecturally. It is a sacred city. It is a sovereign place with the monuments to great men and women who've sacrificed far more than you or I could ever dream for this country.
Oh, never mind. Fuck. I don't even want to show this on stream. Milo is Milo Yiannopoulos is posting shit about Jordan Peterson's daughter, Michaela Peterson. But you can never trust any of this. Like, this guy lies about so much shit. I don't know if Milo's ever been behind a big leak that was true. Almost all of them might just be bullshit. This guy is the gossip queen, but he doesn't have good gossip because it's usually just completely fabricated bullshit.
Who've sacrificed far more than you or I could ever dream for this country. It must be preserved because the peoples of Earth come here by the millions per year.
Him being molested? I'm going to be honest. It wouldn't surprise me if he even made that story up because he just wanted to be more edgy or whatever. In
order to witness the success or failures of our systems. And if you are a proud patriot and you love this country and you wish for it to be reflected honorably to the peoples of Earth, then Washington, D.C. must be swept clean. I believe entire neighborhoods probably need to be emptied, need to be bulldozed. I believe that there are places that are so crime-ridden and so infested that you just need to, you're just going to have to crack down. You're going to have to do the job, and you're going to have to get the crime out of Washington.
It's kind of weird, but okay.
That's my personal experience. Don't believe the bullshit that you hear online from some reporters. Oh, crime's down in D.C. Well, my infant nearly died.
His infant now? Oh, yeah. We also heard, was it in front of the, when he was in the White House press briefing room, or was it in some other video where he's like, I've seen multiple muggings, like attempted murders, carjacking, like apparently every crime in the fucking world. Didn't he say I saw attempted murders caught on my Ring camera on my door? This guy apparently has every crime in the world happening on his fucking doorstep in D.C.
In a drug fire. After mass shootings. So no, D.C. is not safe.
Wait,
in a drug fire. My infant nearly died. In a drug fire. After mass shootings.
What does that mean? A drug fire? Was he making like meth in a lab with his infant, or what? Were there shootings near a drug lab and the bullets shot into his house so much they caused things to catch on fire? I feel like that would be a news story somewhere, no? I feel like that we should be able to find an article about that, no?
So no, D.C. is not safe. And I can tell you this, as a matter of fact, it is one of the worst, most racist narco states and welfare states imaginable. In that neighborhood that I would walk every single day, racial epithets were screamed at us.
Really? They are? Cracker!
Rocks were thrown at us because we were white people.
Rocks?
Racial epithets were screamed at us. Rocks were thrown at us because we were white people. This city is a sunken place.
Where? What part of DC?
It is an unsafe place. I mean, if that's what happens to me, imagine what happens to somebody who's like visiting here from a foreign country, right? It's totally and wholly unsafe, a scar on the face of our country, and it must be healed. And President Trump is going about that heavy work.
Is this what we watched yesterday?
For being here.
Thank you, Caroline. As a DC resident of 15 years, I lived on Capitol Hill. I witnessed...
Motherfucker, why would you still live there? If you're getting rocks thrown at you, gun fights with drug warlords are setting fire to your house, why not move, motherfucker? What the fuck?
So many muggings and so much theft. I lost track. I was carjacked. I have murders on my Ring camera and mass shootings.
Murders on your Ring camera and you didn't move? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Witnessed a woman on my block get held up at gunpoint for $20, and my house was set ablaze in an arson with my infant child inside. And so to any reporter that says and lies that DC is a safe place to live and work, let me just say this. Thank you. Thank you for making the city safe, because no parent should have to go through what my family went through, having the fire department rip open their door to save their infant child. And so thank you for your work on security.
Did you run out without your kid? Wait, what was the... I want more... Is there a full video of him explaining this arson? Were they out and they left the infant child alone at home so the fire department had run in to save him? Were they in a different room and the fire separated them? And so I want to hear this full story, please, God. What is this?
Look at that heat. There's Ron DeSantis with the...
He was part of Newsmax 4 years ago. Oh my God. Actual treason channel.
Bullet. Look at that heat.
One sec.
He has guts. He is able to throw that right at Sean Spicer. Look at him go. They have guts to see themselves through fake scandals after manufactured scandals from our corporate media, and they keep on winning. Guts to tell the media to shove it, to get bent. Check this out.
And it shows you how dishonest, these are smear merchants. That's why nobody trusts corporate media.
Correct.
They are a disaster in what they're doing.
Why don't more Republicans talk like that? Seriously, we'd have a better country. We'd have a more honest country. Both of these men hate masks. Here's Tom Brady walking maskless into the Super Bowl. Libs went apoplectic over this. Do you remember? Vice President Kamala Harris's unremarkable socialite race grifter niece, Mina Harris, screeched, "What is Tom doing without a mask?" What a cultist. How sad. Libs equally shrieked over DeSantis not wearing a mask at the Super Bowl. His response to being found out was, "How the hell am I going to be able to drink a beer with a mask on?" That's Alpha, boys, in case you were wondering. Alpha. Both of these men love freedom. Both support America first. Both get millions of people trapped in misery on the East Coast to wish they lived in Florida. And most importantly, both of these...
That's Alpha.
These goats make libs sound...
Goats.
Like literal goats. Mention Tom Brady or Ron DeSantis to a lib, and this is the sound that you shall hear. In Florida. And most importantly, both of these goats make libs sound like literal goats. Mention Tom Brady or Ron DeSantis to a lib, and this is the sound that you shall hear. Oh, and there's something else Tom Brady and Ron DeSantis have in common. They're both neighbors with your boy Benny now. That's right. The Benny Report has moved to Florida this week, and the reason for our glow up is obvious. We are happy. We are happy, and we are in the sunshine. We could not be happier to breathe literal fresh air. I'm not joking. We can breathe air now. DeSantis and Brady know what's up down here. Life is amazing. You may recall in our last episode from the Newsmax DC studios, we detailed exactly why we were moving. I'm a father now, and the protection of my daughter weighs on my shoulders every single day. Homicides and violent crime in DC have skyrocketed. Not where Nancy Pelosi lives, mind you, but certainly where normal people live, like me and my neighbors. This is why my family and this show this week are moving to the free state of Florida, where crime and anti-riot laws have recently been passed and hardened. I could not be happier. That's right. We are very happy. Look at this. I already look happier than I did back then. A couple weeks ago. This is why all good men move, by the way. Throughout all time, all good men move for a better life, for their families, to protect their children. Newsmax, by the way, is a great company. They gave us the option to move our show north from D.C. to the other city that has a Newsmax studio, New York City, one of the most ironclad, Democrat-controlled garbage heaps in America. So let's contrast.
What is this? My security camera will show you what life was like for a family living in DC. Here's a mass shooting and murder in my front lawn, followed by my house being set on fire with my wife and infant child inside. These are regular occurrences for DC residents. I live just a few blocks from the US Capitol. There were open drug deals and arms deals constantly outside my house. Like what? Like AK-47s? My family was threatened on a near daily basis. Racist epitaphs were hurled at my wife and infant child. Rocks were thrown at us as we walked down the street. We were constantly targeted for being white in a black neighborhood. No one gave a shit. Judges and cops saw us as the problem. When DC defunded their police, the city turned into a deadly war zone. Every resident was terrorized. Well, I don't understand what's... Why did they not, like, open the door? Or what? Is this even their house? Wait, what's happening here? Are they asleep? Also, arson? Yeah, this fire looks like it's coming from the inside. What's happening here? Did their drugs catch on fire inside? The time Johnson's house caught on fire. When the Johnson's house caught fire, the second time that day, the entire neighborhood came to watch. Wait, what? This is June 30th, 2017. Okay, so when Trump was in office. When the Johnson's house caught fire, the second time that day, the entire neighborhood came to watch. The disquieting mass of black smoke that billowed from the top floor of the Tudor, with its gable roofs and timber framing, was a bleak beacon that summoned the residents of Birchwood Village to gather together. Is this a very black or white neighborhood? I don't know where Birchwood Village is. Is this a downtrodden, poor place to live? And gather together they did. A stray few at first, folks already on their constitutionals. After supper, I don't know what the fuck half these, what are your constitutionals? After supper around 7, on such an otherwise pleasant mid-April evening, curious as to what that rolling dark cloud was. Then, as word spread, and the suffocating dense smell of just burnt, blanketed the area, more and more people arrived, and more after that, and even more still, until eventually nearly everyone had emptied from their homes with screen doors smacking, light sweaters thrown on, stumbling into flip-flops and sneakers, jumping onto bikes, pushing baby strollers, pulling at yipping dogs on leashes, excited chattering, nervous murmuring. All of Birchwood Village turned out that day when the Johnson's house caught fire a second time. Constitution's walls. Destiny, actually, I'm not sure. I thought it was Benny Johnson, but it actually doesn't say. Oh, did you just pick a random fucking article, you fucking retard? This is in DC? The tweet thread has an article. Two dogs dead. Oh, October 25th, 2020. A third injured in house fire in Northeast DC, fire officials say. A house fire has left 2 dogs dead and a third injured Sunday in Northeast Washington, according to fire officials. Firefighters arrived at a home on the 600 block of 19th South Street, or 19th Street Northeast, around 10:30 a.m. Did we ever get anything more in the investigation. Wait, DC fire is on the scene of a house fire in NE, Northeast. Spokesman tells me no one was at home when the fire broke out, but 2 dogs are deceased. A third was injured. Is this you in a video saying it was your neighbor's house that was on fire?
Videos from this place right here in my house. Not for long. The house is almost completely empty. The moving truck is headed down to Tampa right now. But there's something you never got to see while I was standing here explaining the news of the day or the clip that we found or stuff that we had broken ourselves. Something you never got to see was outside. I want to show you guys that right now. I'm walking back into my backyard here in Washington, D.C. for the next 24 hours. This is still our backyard. I want to show you guys a couple of things. One, bars on our windows. The reason why that is it's a, let's just say it's a not the safest neighborhood. Two, we have, you know, obviously we live right next door to everyone, so these are row houses. The houses are connected. They're very old. These are 100-year-old houses. I'm now in an alleyway out in our alley back here where we live. We have an alley. And I want to show you this. This is what's so important and something that you may not have been able to see. How could you? This is my neighbor. That's my house. You can see right there, kind of cream tan colored. That's my neighbor's house. Right there, that house. This house has been burned to the ground, burned to a crisp. You can see all of the fire damage there. You can see everything connected directly to our home is this home. Now, gate's been broken down. Everything's been ripped up. That's what I've been broadcasting next to this entire time. Why did this happen? This home was a known drug house. This home was a house that was used, obviously, for nefarious purposes.
You lived next door to a fucking drug house? Is there any evidence of that whatsoever? It said there were 3 dogs inside and 2 died. What is the evidence it was a drug house?
Loved the people inside of it. We became home was a house that was used, obviously, for nefarious purposes. Let's just say that we actually loved the people inside of it. We became friends with them, but they got into it. They got into it bad with a couple other people, and there was a shootout, and that shootout resulted eventually in a massive arson. You could see the person on our cameras walking over and lighting the house on fire with my child sleeping right there. My child sleeps right there. My baby was sleeping right there when this place went up in blazes, in complete blazes. Look at this. There you go. It's the inside there. You can see right there, right up at the top of the house. That's the inside of the place. Complete and total abandonment. Thank the Lord nobody actually died in this blaze. My wife fled with our daughter as smoke poured into our house, as you can imagine.
Our wife fled, so the cops didn't have to bust down the door to save your infant child. Is that what he said up here? Or was this in another video? Did he say this?
Ensuring this safe place to live and work. Let me just say this. Thank you. Thank you for making the city safe. I have murders on my Ring camera and mass shootings. I witnessed a woman on my block get held up at gunpoint for $20, and my house was set ablaze in an arson with my infant child inside. And so to any reporter that says and lies that DC is a safe place to live and work.
Wait, where do we hear that? I thought he was saying did he say that the police had to break his door down to get in? Am I making this up? Was I responding to the wrong thing? Keep playing.
Let me just say this. Thank you. Thank you for making the city safe, because no parent should have to go through what my family went through, having the fire department rip open their door to save their infant child. And so thank you for your work on securing the city. My question to you is this. Nancy Pelosi has attacked the president.
What? So it wasn't his house, it was on next to it. We don't even know if his house sustained any damage. And it sounds like you just walked out. They didn't have to rip your door down to...
Died in this blaze. My wife fled with our daughter as smoke poured into our house. As you can imagine, with the homes connected, this fire spread as quickly as possible, and the smoke spread. The fire damaged our home. Our home was covered in ash. My wife was home alone with our child. This is the life that is created for people when you have a broken inner city, Democrat-run, blue state society of lawlessness, of carnage, when you have people who live their entire lives dependent on our government, when you have people who haven't been shown a way out and resort to crime, resort to selling drugs, resort to all manner of illegal activity. This is what happens. It affects real people. It affected my family. It affected my children. When you defund your police and there's no one to come help you, we were very grateful for the firefighters who eventually arrived, the cops who eventually arrived, but it was a cold, dreary day, and this home was ablaze.
Is there any evidence that this was like set on fire by arsonists?
I can't help but wonder.
Is that anywhere posted?
I know for a fact that this happened because DC defunded their police. This happened because this city became deeply unsafe this summer. And this happened because people got into a cycle of attacking each other and a cycle of hating each other. And then it affected my family next door. So this is where we've been living. We have our dear friends, Eugene. Hey, Eugene, how you doing? I told you guys, we love this neighborhood. I didn't plan on Eugene being here in our video, but Eugene's been our...
This is my friend. He's a decent guy. Thank you.
Eugene's been our friend for as long as Kate and I have lived here.
You guys are very community players in that statue. And I appreciate having you guys here.
Well, we love you, Eugene. We love you, Eugene. We'll talk with you in just 1 second. I just want to end by saying this. These things are... This is preventable. This is a product of a broken society. And as you hear the sirens ringing, and they ring and ring and ring in this neighborhood, these things are preventable. It is the cause of a broken society and a broken system. People who do not respect their neighbors, they do not respect each other, and they certainly do not respect our police and the people that are here to keep us safe. So guys, that's been the reality here in Washington, D.C. If you wonder why we are looking for something safer for our family, and if you wonder why I harp so bad against defund the police and all of the cancer that is affecting our society right now, that's why. It has personally affected us and our family. So I wanted to share that story with you. Eugene.
Yes, sir.
He's been my boy.
Yes, sir. Hey, thank God for your presence and your wife's and kid presence in this community, because you guys have a statue and value, and we need to upgrade this community. And you guys are the best thing that could possibly happen here. And I thank God for allowing you to be here and allowing me to be a spokesperson.
This guy, 100% homeless guy, paid for by Benny to star in this video. He probably found him from some other spot of DC, drove him here, and
possibly happen here. And I thank God for allowing you to be here and allowing me to be a spokesperson on your behalf. You are, and your lady both are, cream of the crop. Top of the line. Love you guys, okay? Thank you, man. Thanks, sir, okay?
Good neighbors, guys. Good neighbors.
I'll see you later.
All right. See you, Eugene. How many times you had cameos in my stuff, Eugene? All the time.
The best thing that ever happened to me, okay?
We love you, Eugene. We love this place. The people who live here are such kind, good-hearted human beings. They're dear friends to us. Ultimately, as a parent, you have to make a decision.
You have to make a decision to raise your children in a place that's going to be safe for them. And unfortunately, in a place that's defunding the police and that's ripping up their society the way that the city is, it's just not safe for us anymore, as much as we love so many of our neighbors here. But I just want to let you guys know, that's been the window that we've been talking through right there. The view's going to change in just a little bit, but yeah. Onward and upward, guys. All right, thanks for sticking along for the ride. We're rolling. See ya.
Asked, what would my life be like if I had decided to move to New York instead of Florida? Well, number one, I might be dead. Not funny. In 24 hours in New York City last week, 4 New Yorkers were shot dead. Followed on Saturday by a triple shooting in Times Square. 3 people, including a 4-year-old girl, were shot in the middle of the day in one of our most populated tourist areas in America. The little girl was there to shop for toys. So evil what's happening in the city. That's someone's daughter.
The little girl was there to shop for toys. I'm sorry, that little girl was 4 years old. This motherfucker does not make money. She does not have a job. Her parents were there to buy toys for her, and she was along for the ride. Okay, let's be clear with our words here.
It could have been my daughter. The murder rate rose 47% in New York City last year. Almost 500 New Yorkers were murdered. And this is outside of Cuomo's nursing home kill boxes. This is a 1980s level crime spree. It's horrific. So how did New York City get so deadly? How did they get here so fast?
Okay, these people are crazy. All right. Jesus. Washington, D.C. is one of the highest rates of crime in the world, more than many of the most violent third world countries. The city's homicide rate is higher than places notorious for their violence, such as Mexico City, Bogota, Islamabad, and Addis Ababa, almost 10 times higher than Fallujah, Iraq. If D.C. were a state, it would have... I like how we just say Fallujah because we remember it from like a war, so it's like it must be a dangerous city too, I guess, because like military conflict is the same thing as... like crime. Like South Korea must have a ton of fucking crime because there was like the Korean War. Like, I mean, okay. What are the highest homicide rate of any state? These are only the official statistics released by corrupt city officials. The real numbers are many times worse. Did you know that? And he knows those, by the way. D.C. has been under siege from thugs and killers. But now D.C. is back under federal control where it belongs. The White House is in charge. They will liberate this city, scrape away the filth, and make it safe, clean, habitable, and beautiful once more. Oof. He's going after them thugs.
We're going to fight crime. That's a good thing. Already they're saying, he's a dictator. The place is going to hell, and we've got to stop it. So instead of saying he's a dictator, they should say, we're going to join him and make Washington safe. But
Papa.
They say, he's a dictator. And then they end up getting mugged, and but the stats are very bad. But we're going to, I think we'll actually get Democrat support. I really believe they can't do this one too. It's
E.J. Antoni, Donald Trump's pick to lead the BLS, was among the crowd outside the Capitol on Jan 6. What a warrior. He was just a bystander, though. The footage shows Antoni, approximately an hour after the mob removed police barricades. The footage appears... It was the Proud Boys that removed police... Well, actually, other barricades might have been removed by the mob. I'm just talking about the first ones. The footage appears to show him leaving the grounds as people enter the Capitol and not entering the building. A White House official said Wednesday that Antoni was in Washington on January 6th for in-person meetings with his then-employer at an office blocks away from the Capitol, and that he did not cross any barricades or participate in any demonstrations. The footage does not show Antoni crossing barricades or demonstrating. That's true. He's just staring ahead autistically. Watch this until 20 minutes? Dog, you should have had this earlier. We'll see. Let me get through my new stuff, okay? I think it's pronounced like Anthony, but it's just written Anthony. Oh, I don't know. Tectone claims being gay is a mental illness.
Very clear. Now, once again, I would make it very clear. I do think being trans is a mental illness. It's obvious that it is. You're a guy that thinks they're a girl, right? That's in your brain. That fucking happens, okay? It's the same thing with, like, I'm a dude and I want to fuck dudes, right? Like, naturally, we are human beings where our entire existence is supposed to procreate, which is man have sex with woman, make baby. That's our entire lineage, right? That's entirely, like, what we are. Right, but our brains are wired differently, and when people's brains are wired differently, normally those things are considered mental illnesses unless social media says, well, it's really mean to call those things mental illnesses. It doesn't matter if it's mean. Your brains are wired differently than what a normal human being's is, which is why we call those outliers mental illnesses. That is what happens.
That's not how you define mental illnesses, but okay. I'm good.
Breaking just a few moments
Oh, apparently the inflation numbers today were pretty bad. Uh-oh.
ago, key new data showing wholesale inflation heated up last month. That's a potential sign for the prices consumers may.
Remember, I think we're just getting to the tariff impact stuff. And not all of them have even kicked in yet. But there was I'm sorry. I need to stop hedging against these fucking losers. We saw the data. There was a huge hoarding of supplies a few months ago. And that probably meant more work for workers, right, in terms of stocking stuff, transporting stuff. It meant that prices could be a bit stickier than maybe otherwise, meaning they didn't have to respond as brutally to the tariffs. But as that stock was depleted, now we're getting into the more ordinary impacts of like what these tariffs would be. I think I've seen some reports come out where the numbers for different goods are looking kind of spooky. Like I think coffee was up like 25% or something. Yeah, but true. The only image that actually matters today. We don't now, again, this is after hours trading. This is after hours, guys. This is after hours. So we don't know what this will be like when the market's open tomorrow. But my God, I am retiring from doing politics or gaming. I will strictly be a stock picker because that's all I need to do. I only call winners here, okay?
DC on store shelves in the months ahead. Let's bring in CNN's Vanessa Yurkevich, who has been tracking all of this. What are the headlines here, Vanessa?
Yeah, this report just out showing that the prices that businesses pay has heated up. So you're looking at a year-over-year change of 3.3%. The estimate was an acceleration to 2.9%, so obviously above that. And then on the monthly basis, the estimate, what people expected was 0.2%. That's coming in at 0.9%. Wow. So quite a bit higher than what was expected. We are seeing increases both on the goods and services side. So the products and then the services like airfares or hotels, all of those categories on the rise. And you can see that uptick just right there in the month of July, spiking up after kind of a volatile recovery after those pandemic highs. Key things to look at in goods. We saw the price of food, the price that businesses are paying for food, up 1.4%. And look at this. This is interesting. Fresh and dry fruits and vegetables, kind of a category that is interesting to look at because we import a lot of vegetables, but not from countries that are heavily tariffed. So there's something else going on, but this accounted for a quarter of the increase of all goods. This could be because of labor issues with immigration. It could be weather. It could be transportation costs, which also rose in the month of July. And then on the services category, you saw transportation and warehousing really increasing there. Trade services, these are the margins that businesses take in. Those actually grew, and that is because maybe they're passing more of their costs down to the consumer. And then finally, in terms of travel and accommodations, on the rise again. So you're seeing hotels up 3.1%. But if you see there, look at that dramatic increase from the month of June when we saw levels that really we haven't seen in a while. And July now indicating a huge spike. The reason we look at this report in particular, Jessica, is because ultimately businesses will have to make a decision. Do they pass this down to the consumer? Right. Clearly, they're paying more, and does that end up with all of us?
And what do they do? Also, the Port of Los Angeles moving more than 1 million containers in July. That's a record month. What does all that mean?
Well, it sort of makes sense, right? Because you had a lot of businesses bringing in a lot of stuff to beat the reciprocal tariffs that were expiring on August 1st and then went into effect on August 7th. And then you were having a lot of people move a lot of stuff in from China, trying to beat those tariffs potentially going up. There's been a 90-day pause since then, but 1 million containers, more than 1 million containers, moved in the month of July at the Port of Los Angeles. That's an 8% increase from the previous year and really trending up 5% on the year in terms of imports that they're bringing into the port.
So I think that's a spooky number. So if more containers are moving, I guess depending on how you look at it, I wish I had a better, more comprehensive understanding of this, but like if more containers are moving, it means that people weren't ordering stuff because they have the stockpile to rely on, but now they're going to have to start buying stuff at tariffed prices. So at this point, I think you're going to start to see prices increase more as more stuff is imported and you're having to actually pay the tariffs. on newly imported goods.
Since then, but a million containers, more than a million containers, moved in the month of July at the Port of Los Angeles.
Is there like a chart to show all of the container stuff for the past like 5 years or 10 years? Can I say that?
That's an 8% increase from the previous year and really trending up 5% on the year in terms of imports that they're bringing into the port. Gene Soroka, the head of the Port of Los Angeles, said, though, that he believes that the surge is behind us. He believes that surge was because people were trying to get stuff in before those tariffs rose, but likely the rest of the year will kind of resume back to normal levels. But not surprising that we saw this increase in inflation for businesses, given that they were buying so much and bringing that in, and at a higher rate.
Right, and so as you know, the question now is who pays, did the consumer pay for that
How
as well?
much can they take on?
Right, all right. Vanessa, thank you so much. Kate?
Joining us right now for some more important context on this is the senior markets reporter at Axios, Madison Mills. Thanks for coming back in, Madison. Okay, so producer price index, an important read. How surprising is this?
It's a huge upside surprise. It's the biggest monthly upside surprise that we've had in 3 years. We were expecting a 0.2% gain. It came in at 0.9% month over month here. And this is really critical because this goes into another data point that the Federal Reserve is keenly looking at when determining whether or not to cut interest rates. And we had the
Oh no! Jerome Powell with another reason not to cut rates.
Treasury Secretary talking about a 50 basis point cut in the September meeting. A data point like this is going to make that very difficult for the Fed to justify.
Another data point that they're taking into account, and everyone has to, is so after Tuesday's not as bad as it could be consumer prices reading, added together with this, what is the picture that it's painting? What story is this telling?
Well, it's telling a story of a market where we're going to continue to see prices going up. The CPI print that you mentioned, that's more backward looking than this data. This tells us how producers, how companies are thinking about pricing going forward. So it's more of that forward looking data, and it's painting a picture of prices going up. You were just talking about the Port of LA as well, and how we did see companies pulling forward their inventory. So maybe they didn't have to raise prices so much previously because they had stuff bulked up, and now we're starting to see the impact of that.
They pull it in, and then you'll then see the consumer prices obviously going up eventually when that slows down, which
GGG alert.
gets me to what we have heard from the White House and the president, because whenever we have the White House on, they are very adamant that prices are not going up. I mean, they believe the prices are not going up, and that's what they see. And because of that, the president has been lashing out over and over again against anyone who says that they are. That includes, of course, last week, Goldman Sachs, he reached out via social media to the Goldman Sachs CEO and said that he should fire his lead economist over a report on tariffs that he didn't like. And yesterday, Goldman Sachs pushed back. Let me play this.
We stand by the results of the study. Our conclusion is that U.S. businesses have borne most of the tariff costs so far because it takes time to negotiate lower import prices or to pass price increases along to consumers. But if the most recent tariffs, like the April tariff, follow the same pattern that we've seen with those earliest February tariffs, then eventually, by the fall, we estimate that consumers would bear about 2/3 of the cost.
And by the fall, we're definitely going to have some answers to that. But my question on this really is, the president, the move of like fire your economist because I don't like their read, or I'm going to fire the head of the BLS because I don't like the July jobs report. That level of doubt and uncertainty that it injects into the economy. Are we seeing evidence of that?
Well, what is difficult to parse at the moment is you talked about the CPI numbers this week. Those looked pretty good for the White House on the inflation front. But then today's numbers showing the opposite story. They're showing a story of prices going up. So it's difficult to suss out how the White House feels about the data when, depending on how good the data is, their messaging might shift. Going forward here, what I can tell you is that I like talking to people at these companies because they can tell me how they are viewing prices, and it seems like it's very company specific. You just heard in that soundbite, it's sector specific as well. In today's data, it looks like
The funny thing too is that I don't know how Trump could ever expect rates to come down. If inflation goes up, the only other reason why you might drop interest rates is if unemployment goes up. But if Trump is making them fabricate Bureau of Labor statistics, there's like, well, why would we? I don't know, President. Sir, you told us that the employment market was better than it's ever been ever. Why would we drop the interest rates? Were you lying? If inflation is growing, but the labor market is really strong, that's a really good indicator to keep rates high, right? Like, yeah.
like wholesale manufacturers on things like machinery are really struggling with tariffs. And so it's going to be that kind of detail going forward that's going to help us determine where prices are getting higher at the most.
But an important read today to add in some more facts and data to this picture. Great to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Anybody else?
Recent polls have
Shut
shown.
up.
And I want to call out one specific thing because Trump has directly lied on something he's saying about this, which he said this very partisan hack right before the election was putting great jobs numbers out for Biden, and then right after the election revised them down 800,000, the biggest revision ever. And he changed the month by one, and it's so annoying because they did do that major revision down before the election, 1 month before.
Oh, this reminds me of the immigration chart or whatever that he always shows, and then there's like a pointing finger thing to like, this is when Biden took office, but that's like actually, it's like 6 months before Biden took office. It was in the thing where he got shot, or I'm sorry, where Corey got shot. That there was a stupid immigration chart, and the finger is pointing at the wrong month for when Biden took office. And it's like, hello, does nobody look at any of this shit?
Instead of 1 month after. So it actually was really damaging to Biden. I remember it because I made a video about it at the time. It was like right before the election, they said, actually, there was way fewer jobs than thought. There's no doubt in anyone's mind. We're all like playing along. Like,
do you think that Trump even knows what Jerome Powell doesn't even alone change the rates? It takes a vote between all 7 board members at the Fed, the president of the New York Central Bank, and 4 other one-year term central banks. Who knows?
WWE or something.
Yeah.
Like, we know why he did this.
He's like Thanos with the reality stone. You know? He's
True.
like, they turn down the numbers. Reality is whatever I want to make it. It's so cool. He just tweets. His Twitter is his reality stone. And he just does whatever he wants. Wow.
Actually true. Actually true.
Breaking.
Out of politics. Joining us on set, Charlie Kirk, founder and CEO of Turning Point USA, the host of the Charlie Kirk Show. I only follow.
They just need to bring on one college professor or a high school teacher and be like, oh, hey, just real quick, before we start this, as part of a new initiative for our platform, we're going to ask 5 really basic questions about the economy or just like economics in general, just to make sure that we're all on the same page and we all understand reality. I would just love for them to do that. I know they never do it, but.
Oh, 200 people, I think. That's not that many.
I'm honored.
And
he doesn't even follow me anymore. He's he's blocked me.
But you know what people do? They send me your stuff. To
needle you.
To tweet me.
I know.
So, Charlie, we know each other. I said we're going to have you on. So the people that were calling you to find out, what your views are, they said, what is the rationale for having Charlie Kirk on? So here's what I sent back. The unprecedented success of Trump's first 200 days in sharp contrast to the mainstream media narrative of chaos.
I love that.
I was kidding. It was a big, beautiful response.
You want me to laugh? What it was?
I'm saying, in every jest, there's some truth.
Wow, Janovic, thanks for the 5 gifted subs on YouTube chat.
And I think you would argue, from where you're sitting, that's not a false statement.
Whether it be trade deals, whether it be we just talk economics, the state of the economy, the country's hot right now. I mean, the market's up. We saw the inflation numbers yesterday were far better than experts would have estimated. And I mean, look, he got his one big beautiful bill passed.
1 day ago, like he's just lying, right? Do you remember when they lost 9-0 in the Supreme Court and Stephen Miller was in the it was over like rejecting a tariff or something. It was a day after I think a stupid 60-day in office State of the Union bullshit. And Stephen Miller just said, actually, we just got a huge 9-0 win, and it wasn't. It's just like reality stoning, yeah.
I think we're only starting to see.
Oh wait, yesterday was a CPI. Today was a different inflation number. Okay, never mind.
See the economy heat up. Okay, so can I ask one question?
You can.
And this is the take him literally or take him figuratively question, right? Because we've all been debating for the last several months on this show and everywhere whether we're supposed to have our hair on fire or not about the tariffs and whether the tariffs are going to impact the economy, right? Yesterday, the president went after Goldman Sachs because that economist had said that he thought there'd be a recession as a result of the tariffs. Now, his original report, if you go back and look at it, was based on the idea that China might be at 145% tariff rates, and so that calculation, the sort of the hair on fire thing at that point was if he actually does what he says he's going to do, yes, the economy might do that. He didn't do that in part because he didn't do that.
Sorry, that's a negotiating tool, idiot.
So what is, to the extent that you're like a mind reader of the president, what should the business community, how should the business community think about what he says versus what he's going to do?
This is not complicated. He wants what's best for America. It's not ideological. And he wants what's best both for capital and labor. And he wants the market to succeed. He wants wages to go up. And look, you look at the trade deals. The only reason we got the trade deals, which are inarguably wins and victories across the board, whether it be Japan, Philippines, EU, I think we will see.
I don't think we have any of these real trade deals yet. People keep saying trade deals, but they're like these very iffy, weak commitments to like skeletons of frameworks of like, I don't think we have any detailed trade deal right with anybody yet.
A very good China deal, I hope, in the next couple of months, is because he used tariffs as a way to bring people to the table. And tariffs have largely been used as 2 things, national security components or as revenue generators. He has now created a third category, which is we're going to use it as a negotiation tactic. And he has the whole world spinning, and they're coming to the Oval Office wanting to get a deal done, wanting to come into the U.S. markets. And he's also recalibrated the way that we are financing the government. And a lot of the experts would say, hey, if you have any tariffs at all, and just to push back a little bit, it's not just 145% tariff. They said, hey, if you have a 10% tariff, we're going to see massive inflation. If you have a 20%, we've now had 90 days of tariffs in place across the board. And the report yesterday, the market responded because the market doesn't lie. The inflation just wasn't there. The structural inflation was not there. And if it comes in the next couple months, then obviously we'll correct it.
But
prices have not raised.
There really is a dichotomy of people in this country. Half the people, maybe not half, but there are a lot of people that look at Trump and say, you know what? I think he's a negotiator. I've seen what he's done in the past. I think that he knows what he's doing. That's what they say. Whereas other people say, are you out of your mind completely? This guy has no idea. He's bankrupted.
There's individuals who can hold both ideas in their mind. By the way,
did you think he knew what he was doing with negotiations?
I thought he might be able to.
The art of the deal,
create a deal. I didn't know how far he'd get.
Because no one really thought we were.
I will push this. And if you're listening, if anybody's listening, whenever you do these shows, you should always be pushing on this stupid fucking point. Don't let them get away with calling him a master negotiator, an art of the deal guy. He hasn't negotiated. Fuck all. This motherfucker can't negotiate anything. Literally, having to lead with tariffs is the opposite of being a good negotiator. This is the United fucking States of America. We should be able to negotiate shit without having to tariff people first. That makes it sound like you're coming from a weak position. You already have to do shit in order to get people to negotiate. It's so stupid.
Staying at 100. No one thought we were going to stay at 140%.
Look, the question from an economic perspective on tariffs is you may collect the tariff on one end, and the question is what happens to the real economy on the other end.
And so far we have not seen.
And so far we haven't seen it yet.
It was a major, catastrophic prediction, right? The panicins, the whole world's going to fall apart. And we just haven't seen that. And I think there does need to be a little contrition by economic ruling class, like, hey, back when we were saying this was going to be the worst thing for the global markets ever, it turns out what it has done is it recentered America as the center point of the world economy, that people wanted to invest in this country.
I'm sorry. Also, we've just moved on from this, right? This didn't get corrected, but we did have a Q1 economic contraction, right? That did happen, but we just don't care. Did we just move on from that? We don't give a fuck, or did that get revised?
The best case scenario is that these countries, it's important to them that they continue to trade with us, and they're eating some of the tariffs, and they're not directly paying for it, but that's where the pain is.
And I don't want to speak for him, but I'm going to make a bet that if David Solomon were sitting here today, this is the CEO of Goldman Sachs, right? That there's part of David that likes some of the policies that this president has put forward around taxes,
more of them, not just some, most.
Right, and I'm sure he hates the fact that he is called out by the president and told to go back to being a full-time DJ or whatever the president said yesterday. He is a good DJ. And so I think that's why I said it's not just that there's one side of the world that thinks one thing and one side of the world that I think there's actually individuals who can hold both ideas in their head.
Charlie,
and by the way are confused.
Have you ever felt anybody that is even a quasi supporter of President Trump? And maybe I put myself in that category. There are plenty of times where you're uncomfortable trying to defend some of the things that are. Have you ever felt uncomfortable with anything?
I'm uncomfortable defending some of the things I've said a couple years ago. But look, I just look at results and I look at this is a guy that goes to work every single day and produces wins for the American people. And look, real wages are up this year for working people, $1,100. We just saw the report that we're starting to see crude go down a little bit, and we need that definitely to have energy prices go down. Capital expenditures are going up, which is a leading prerequisite for economic growth. And I get all the objections. I just want to say one final thing, though, is that I think that we need to rework our mental model when it comes to Donald Trump, especially in people that are running companies, because they're looking too much on the flow on X, and they're not looking at the macroeconomic, geopolitical victory that President Trump is driving every single day, which is recentering America as the forefront leader of the world economy.
Okay. It's just so fucking retarded. You had obviously the COVID recovery stuff. You had when was the invasion into Ukraine? February of 2022. Q1. Okay, so I'm guessing this was tied to that. So Biden's worst quarter was, if he comes into office on Q1 2021. So Biden's worst quarter was when the Ukraine war started, which was a 1 point decrease, negative 1%, or a 1% economic contraction. And then 0.3 gain is the next worst. And then everything else is within 1.5 to 4.5. And then, right, it's just for no reason. And then nothing happens. Like, imagine you look at world history, or you're just like looking, not even at economics, just like the macro of like 2025. What happened in the United States? Why? But I guess we don't care about this. It's just so crazy that he can just like walk away from that. Without a care in the world. Okay, good one. Trevor expanding our order on competition. On promoting competition, the U.S. economy issued by his predecessor. What was this about? Saying it was pursuing an America First antitrust approach focused on free markets instead of what it called the overly prescriptive and burdensome approach of the Biden administration. Oh, related to monopolies and shit, I guess. polling is down on inflation.
This morning, new data showing inflation is holding steady, but a broader look shows prices did rise on a wide array of products, showing that President Trump's tariffs are being passed along to consumers. So the question is, how do Americans feel about Trump's handling? Products showing that President Trump's tariffs are being.
But look, appliances are down. Why would appliances fall, if anything else? I wonder if I wonder which of these are USMCA. Is that it? U.S. Mexico Canada agreement, because the those are still exempt from all the tariffs, right?
Being passed along to consumers. So the question is, how do Americans feel about Trump's handling of inflation? CNN's Harry Enton is joining us now. Harry, this is really a huge piece of why the president was elected, was to get a handle on cost of living. So how do Americans feel like he's doing?
Let me just say, this is an abject disaster. Abject disaster for the president of the United States. You mentioned it, Jessica. Look, voters on Trump and inflation. He won the 2024 election because he was more interested on inflation than Kamala Harris was, led by a margin of 9 points. Look at where his net approval stands today, though, on inflation. My goodness gracious. Into the gutter we go. Underwater we go. He's 25 points underwater. My goodness gracious. That is where the Little Mermaid is, and he is matching the Little Mermaid. That's how far underwater he is on the issue that got him elected. He led by 9 points on it last year, and now he's 25 points underwater. As I said, this is a complete and total disaster for the president of the United States.
So let's look ahead to 2026 when a lot of Republicans, all the House Republicans, some senators going to be on the ballot. How is that shaping?
Yeah, if Republicans in Congress think that they can escape the wrath of the voters when it comes to inflation, I have a bit of a rude awakening for them. Trust which party more on inflation? You go back to the 2022 midterms, look at this. Republicans led by 13 points on which party was more trusted in inflation. Look at where we are now. Nearly a 15-point shift in the Democrats' direction. It's within the margin of error, but the Democrats up by a point. This just looks totally different from where we were back in 2022 when, of course, Republicans took back the House. That's what Democrats are trying to do this time around, looking much better for them. The bottom line is the wrath that the voters feel for Donald Trump and inflation is transferring over to House Republicans, and now Democrats, although it's a small lead, a big difference from where we were back in October of 2022, with Democrats actually in the positive and Republicans in the negative. Very much the reverse of where we were just 3 years ago.
Yeah, and so how do voters feel about inflation in terms of where it ranked and what kind of priority it is for them?
They don't like it.
Right. So we started off this segment by saying that inflation was the reason that Donald Trump was elected. It was the most important issue for the voters back last year at this point. And look at where we are today. What is the top issue for you right now? It's a runaway. It's inflation. It's 34% compared to the economy, which is basically very similar at 6.
I feel like this is just such a dumb poll, though. Like, do Americans care about inflation, or do they care about high prices? Because, like, or do they care about, like, affordability of things? Because, like, when you ask on inflation, I feel like there's so many different things that somebody could think about. Like, if, like, oh, I can't afford a house. Well, why not? Inflation? Well, is it inflation? Or is it about the amount of money you're making? Or is the house is expensive? Or, like, it just feels like this could be a proxy for so many other issues, you know?
16% Medicare and Social Security at 14%. But the bottom line is voters in poll after poll after poll say that Donald Trump has taken his eye off the ball, off the big issue of the day, which is inflation. And that is why Donald Trump is way underwater on this issue. And it's why Democrats have caught up to Republicans on the all-important issue of inflation. I can guarantee you this, Jessica. If these numbers look right now like they do, or will look on Election Day 2026, there is no way on God's green earth that Republicans can hold on to the House of Representatives. These numbers, as I said, an abject disaster for Donald Trump and therefore Republicans.
I mean, I'm no Harry Enton, but 34 is
That's a big number.
more than double 16.
That is a very, very large number.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow. Cava, Chipotle, and other fast casual restaurant chains are finally hit by consumer slowdown. What is fast casual? Is it like the step up from fast food, but a step down from sit-down diners? What is Cava? Cava stock tumbled 16% in afternoon trading on Wednesday, making the latest. Is this like, do I know restaurants that this brand owns or something? Like a Shake Shack? No shot. Shake Shack is just fast food. Here we go. Eateries like Chipotle Mexican Grill and Cava reporting double-digit same-store sales growth, even as the broader restaurant industry posted falling traffic and slumping sales. Times have changed this spring. Fast casual chains suffered driver decline as sales slowed down or even shrank. Cava is like Chipotle 2.0. Gotcha. Mediterranean, I guess. Is this just not on the East Coast or something? I feel like I've never seen this restaurant in my life. It is on the East Coast. Okay. So far in 2025, Shake Shack shares have fallen 16%. Chipotle stock has slid 28%. Coffee shares have tumbled 37%, and Sweet Green stock has plunged 70%. Holy shit. Fuck, why didn't we time that drop? Oh, wait, we're down. This stock is... Whoa! No, that's okay. It's coming back. Damn. I'm already invested in United Healthcare, guys. I can't. I'm sorry. You have to look no further than what's going on with our competitors. You have to look no further than what's going with our competitors. What's going on with our competitors? Is that what that was supposed to say? You have to look no further than what's going on with our competitors with snack occasions or $5 meals. That's where the consumer is drifting towards, with value as a price point because of low consumer sentiment. I think as sentiment improves, the business will improve. I think it's probably the biggest headwind we face. Jesus Christ. Wait, what?
And now he's got us in a bad place. So we're paying $360 billion a year for each point. Now, I believe we should be 3 or 4 points lower. So that's over $1 trillion we pay every year in interest. And it's really just a paper calculation. You sign a document and you save almost $1 trillion because that number equates very much to the bonds that we have to buy.
Oh!
But despite that, we're powering through it. And we have the greatest economy maybe we've ever had.
Just drop the rates by like 500 basis points, or sorry, 300 or 400 basis points. Why not? Sounds like a good idea.
And now
cuts. There's no tax cuts. No tariffs, no tax cuts. So are tariffs price hikes or tax cuts? I say they're tax cuts.
I mean, many economists would say that they're tax hikes because ultimately.
Like, why do we say that? Why do we act that way? Like, when the guillotine falls, are you killing one person or creating two distinct people? And it's like, well, most experts... Wait, did she say most or some?
I mean, many economists...
Oh. Many doctors would say that you're actually just killing one person when you chop their head off.
Would say that they're tax hikes because ultimately a consumer will pay for some of those increased prices.
Look, that debate has been going on since the first term, and most economists just don't agree with us. The problem with most economists is they got it wrong the first time around, just spectacularly wrong. So who has credibility here? The Trump administration? Or the economists?
It's been better than thought. I give you plenty of credit every day here. Every day I say that the inflation is not as bad.
I believe this is the guy who cites the book that's just him, right? It's an anagram of his name. It's just him, Navarro, right?
The Wall Street Journal blamed me for, they had lead editorial saying the Navarro recession because of the tariffs in the first term, and all we got was robust growth and no inflation. So, and I love watching CNBC, like when the data comes out, you got the Leisman Santelli show. It's like, you know, it's like the Thriller in Manila, you know. I always think Rick kicks his butt, but, you know, Steve has his fans too. But this is why you guys are able to have a lot of viewers.
We do.
There's just a lot going on to parse. I'm hoping that I've helped you today because folks, pay attention to this executive order and figure out how to make money from it, because you will do that.
Peter Navarro, thank you for the time today.
You take care.
Good to hear from you.
It was a pleasure to be with you.
European leaders tentatively hopeful after call with Trump ahead of Putin's summit. After holding a virtual meeting with Donald Trump on Wednesday, European leaders appeared cautiously optimistic. Trump reportedly told the Europeans that his goal was for the summit for the summit was to obtain a ceasefire between Moscow and Kyiv. Okay. Bro, I feel like somehow Putin is going to walk away with like 40% of Alaska, and we're like not even going to know what happened. We're just going to be like, one day the signs are all just going to be in fucking Russian, and people are going to be like, wait, what's going on? And Trump's going to like deploy the National Guard there, like accidentally. He's invading Russian territory, and then we have to just like cede 40% of the land. Like, my God.
We begin tonight with the question that could decide the immediate fate of Ukraine and the future of Europe and the NATO alliance, namely which Donald Trump will show up at the summit with Vladimir Putin in Anchorage, Alaska, less than 2 days from now. Will it be the one who spoke today with Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky and European leaders, telling them, sources say, that he would not negotiate Ukrainian territory with Vladimir Putin? Or will the Donald Trump who shows up Friday be the one who just 2 days ago said he might be okay with the idea of Ukraine having to give up some of its territory for peace?
There'll be some land swapping going on. I know that through Russia and through conversations with everybody, to the good, for the good of Ukraine. Good stuff, not bad stuff. Also, some bad stuff for both.
He didn't specify who would be negotiating that land swapping, as he called it. He also did not acknowledge that the land in...
Yeah, I still want to know who is, what are we swapping?
Oh, buddy. Hey.
Why did you link this?
Question was taken by a foreign aggressor. He did, however, add that, quote, we're going to see what the parameters are, and then I'm going to call up President Zelensky and European leaders. Today, the president warned yet again of potential severe consequences for Russia.
Oh, okay.
Will Russia face any consequences if Vladimir Putin does not...
Yes, but we can't say what the consequences are. We saw some of this. This is fucking stupid. Russia is suspected to be behind breach of federal court filing system. Federal officials are scrambling to assess the damage and address flaws in a sprawling, heavily used computer system long known to have vulnerabilities. Uh-oh. Investigators have uncovered evidence that Russia is at least partly responsible for a recent hack of the computer system that manages federal court documents, including highly sensitive records with information that could reveal sources and people charged with national security crimes, according to several people briefed on the breach.
Yes, please.
Hi, sir. There's new reporting that the Russians have hacked into some computer systems that manage U.S. federal court documents. I wonder if you've seen this reporting and if you plan to bring it up with Putin when you see him later in the week.
I guess I could. Are you surprised? You know, are you surprised? They hack in. That's what they do. They're good at it. We're good at it. We're actually better at it. But no, I have heard about it. I have heard about it.
What a fucking retarded thing to say. This is our leader?
Please.
Why not just say the same shit about Russiagate then? Why do they deny that so much? In terms of like Russia trying to interfere with our election. Why not just say like, yeah, they did try to interfere with it. Yeah, we know it. That's what they do all the time. Why not just say that? Why? I don't even know. Whatever. It's fucking retarded. Illinois court rejects Texas request to enforce arrest warrants against House Democrats. That's good. Fuck them. Although, haven't they all gone back at this point?
You're watching the...
Texas Attorney General suffers major loss in court. Volcane strikes back at Tellurico. What the fuck is this?
And if that wasn't enough, what Tellurico did on social media was deceptively edit our 10-minute conversation into about 70 seconds of what he thinks are slam dunks, what I think are clearly lies, with no response from me. and makes it look like we said goodbye. It's short on time. We have to go. We have to run. I gave Tallarico 2 more minutes after telling him we're tight against time. He used that time like Jill Biden to talk about breakfast tacos if that makes him a Texan. Where I come from, being a Texan is someone with a steel spine and something between their knees, between their legs. That something gives you the integrity to tell the truth. Now, I don't know what the voters of Round Rock, Texas think about what it means to be a Texan, but if Tallarico's any evidence, it means being a fraud, a fake man of the cloth, someone who's as comfortable lying as he is breathing, or as comfortable lying as he is running to Illinois. I will say one thing. Mark Cuban is right when he posted on X. James Tallarico is going to go as far in politics as he wants to go. He is good. He is a good politician, defined by his ability to lie. And I have no doubt that will make him a star.
You do know that, like, your President Trump is a politician, right? Like, you, like this. You talked to this guy? Yeah, I did a show. Oh, we saw this. Seeing if there's anything else in here. Talking to Willie Mack show about his fear. This was 2 days after.
Supporters, all the personalities that back him up, all the chatters that back.
I don't actually care that much about this.
It was a promising technology. It made sense to invest in it in 2020, you know, it I think did a good job in protecting older people. It should never have been used or recommended or mandated for young people. It still makes sense to invest in it for cancer. I mean, you know,
why? What, do young people not have mRNA or what? I don't even know what that means.
Protecting older people. It should never have been used or recommended or mandated for young people. It still makes sense to invest in it for cancer. I mean, you know, it's quite promising. I don't think it's quite there yet, but it's promising, and we should continue to invest in a research way, but we should not be using it as a platform for mass vaccination.
What does that even mean? Research it for fun? J.D. Vance van roaming the streets of the UK. What? Okay. Okay. There's a lot of memes apparently from this Laura Loomer deposition. I don't understand why you blurred it out. It's blurred out. Can you explain, Mr. Clement? Objection, relevancy by Ms. Bulger. Can you explain to me what it means to say to her that the Arby's in her pants, well, Arby's, answer the question, Arby's sells roast beef, right? Can you tell me why you were talking about the Arby's in her pants? Well, it's just an expression. What is the expression trying to convey? It conveys the reason why she got a divorce by her own admission. Because she has roast beef in her pants? Yeah. She'd put roast beef in her pants? That's what you're trying to say here? You're literally... Can we mark this as exhibit, whatever we're at, 31? 31, please. Exhibit 31 was marked for identification. Several of President Trump's staff have told me in confidence that Lindsey Graham is gay. Hold on, Miss Loomer, there's no question. What is your basis for saying she put Arby's in her pants? She carries roast beef in her pockets. What is your basis for saying she puts roast beef in her pockets? Because I know she likes roast beef. So what is your basis for saying she had Arby's in her pants? Because I know she likes to eat at Arby's, and she likes to put it in her pants. You know that? Yeah. She puts Arby's in her pants? Yeah, she does. Okay, if I ask Marjorie Taylor Greene, she would tell you that she puts Arby's in her pants. It's my best belief that she would tell you that, yes. Okay. What does the middle one say? My deposition actually went great. Had roast beef? Oh, okay. I love the y-axis that people do in these graphs. Stock futures fall after U.S. July PPI inflation jumps. Like, holy shit, did it go to 0? But it's like the the increments here are not. It's not as dramatic as it looks. Fuck. I missed the Ethan Klein memes today. Apparently, we got Hassan being a sex pest.
No, it wasn't. A nude? So was it? What's the score like? 1, 2, 3, 4 against 1, 2, 3.
Now, is this a cute accident? This is the 4th time. On camera. Just on camera. Do you think he's respecting the privacy of these people sending his nudes? Fucking clearly not. He's waving it around for just anyone next to him to look at. And be like, bro, your phone's full of nudes, dude. That's fucking sick.
Is that a nude? So was it? What's the score like? 1, 2, 3, 4 against 1, 2, 3. It's face. It was the nude. Big knockers? No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
This is gross. Why is it so, like, if you're just on your phone, what are you doing where there's just nude pictures right there? Like, you're in a party, you're on your phone, what are you, scrolling Twitter, you're looking through emails, what are you doing where there's just nudes on your phone all the time?
Well, I mean, if there were nudes on my phone, like, I wouldn't pull them out in public like that. I'd be scared somebody would be looking over my shoulder or something.
Yeah. And also, here's the other thing. If they are unsolicited, that means he's going into the DMs with his fans and downloading or looking at and receiving their nudes. I, by my very policy, never go into the DMs with fans, cold DMs, because you don't know what's there, and you don't want to give people the wrong impression. There's a weird power imbalance. People are there, they're going to be like mystified by you and want to do anything for you. So I straight up do never talk to fans in the DMs. But he's in the cold DMs, getting, let's say, unsolicited, but he's receiving nudes from people, and
base.
A nude?
Oh wait, this is the same thing.
Nude?
Okay, we will watch this tomorrow. The Sam Hyde video. It will happen. We will get there. I'm like 65% sure. They had to end the podcast early after the crew started pushing back. Wait, really?
Who I was with last weekend, or, you know, like, I don't know. As a 35-year-old famous guy, I think it's cooler not to talk about all that stuff.
I agree. Obviously. Also, bear in mind, these are all of his friends that are telling this story because they think it's cool. Like, this isn't like the time, every time that it's happened when someone wasn't recording it or he was showing it to someone who's not a streamer. These are the times where, like, I'm going to tell this cute anecdote of the time that I
Was that the button? Was that the button?
One sec. It wasn't okay.
I bet he abused.
1 sec here. Ride that button. Ride that music for me, Zach. What is this one? Oh, this is a bad timestamp. Anyway, that's what that is. I'm gonna make a whole video about it, basically, is what I'm planning. But it came up just out of nowhere, kind of. But I've got a lot more than that. And that's all I have to say. All right. Well, everybody, it's been a good time, hasn't it? All right. Today is Wednesday, which means we'll be here for members. Tomorrow, Thursday for members. We're going to be playing maybe Overcooked, I think.
What's that?
It's a game.
Okay.
Multiplayer game.
Oh, for a video game?
All right, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow and everybody else on Friday.
Maybe we'll watch this tomorrow, maybe. Wait, what happened? I don't know. Maybe I guess the crew just wasn't as comfortable with the segment, but what are you going to say? What are you going to do?